Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today, my lips will not be matching up with my voice because I didn't think about how far away I was going to be from the camera when I was recording this, and there was a lot of mixed up audio as well with like the birds and the wind and all of this different stuff, as well as just the rattling of the chair going through the puddle. So you're dealing with a voiceover today. I hope it's not too much of an issue. But basically, in this video we're going to be covering why it's important to think about going through puddles and like just some tips and tricks on how to do it without getting too wet or falling out, because there's a surprising amount of danger to it. You know, it's kind of just down to knowing what you're doing. And just giving a first demonstration, this is how I can imagine a lot of you do it. You know, you just go up to the puddle and go through it. I needed a bit more of a run up just to show you from like a normal push. But you basically just go through normal speed, don't really consider anything, and there's a lot of splashing. It's quite messy, and you notice that I bumped a little bit while I was going through. Now, some tips and tricks to avoid this is to do it in a backwheel balance. This is just safer in general, because if there's any small bumps that you don't see, especially if it's a muddy puddle like this, you might not be able to avoid it. You know, you don't have to stay in a backwheel balance the entire thing. Like, as I said, you can just backwheel balance for a bit of it and then drop down again. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Now, I'm stopping here to point out something which I'd recommend doing before, which is not getting wet sides, because I didn't notice this. My wheel was rubbing along my jumper and it ended up with the water getting onto the jumper and then it got wet. Now, this again isn't too much of an issue. However, if you're wearing like an expensive suit or something, then it may be, you know. Or, you know, you might not just want to be wet, you know. Now, again, while I'm dealing with this, I just think I'd list a couple of the extra issues, which is if you don't see something in the water and your casters hit it and you tip up and forwards, not only are you going to be falling out your chair, but you're also going to be landing in the water, which is just not good at all, ever. Now, I'm going to cut ahead to when I'm actually doing stuff again. If you pay attention to my feet, they almost dip in. In fact, one of them do, and that's one of the things that I wanted to mention, is if you don't go in a backwheel balance, you know, and the water's either a little bit more deep or the incline's a little bit steeper, then you will get wet toes. And that's just not good, is it? You know, getting wet feet, you know, big splashes. I just thought I'd show you again, just going through it normally. You can obviously do this at quite high speeds, just as long as you are aware. I'm just keeping like a little bit extra pressure while going through. I'm not doing it in a full backwheel balance because you don't really need to, just as long as you know how to avoid all the big splashes and like not getting too wet and just generally being safe. You know, I can do this at some pretty high speeds. As long as I'm in a backwheel balance, then the water doesn't really spray up as much. I don't know why it does with the casters, but if you have a look, you know, I'm not really doing that high speed. It's mainly just, as I said, when you go fast and don't really pay attention, that you will get wet. I think when you're doing it, you just have to be cautious and look down. You'll notice that I do quite a lot, but as long as you keep your speed controlled, pay attention to where you're going, and make sure that you're not just hammering it through. You know, you might get friends or family that you're walking with wet. You know, if it splashes up and hits them, you might get yourself wet, you might get other people wet, or, as I said, fall out, or something else, you know, I'm not sure what else, but yeah, it's just all about keeping everything controlled. You know, you don't have to be extra careful with it, but I'll leave you past me to talk about this. So, that is all for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, all of that usual stuff. Now, it's important that you keep in mind, obviously, everything that I've said. I don't know what I have said yet, but just off the top of my head, making sure that you aren't going too quickly and that you're looking at the puddle for any just random bumps or stones. You can usually tell when it's not completely muddy. Obviously, because I've gone back and forth doing it a couple of times, it's gotten quite cloudy, so it's harder to tell. But yeah, definitely just try and avoid them, because it's just a pain in the arse. Splash everyone. It is fun, so if you're not that fussed about getting wet, like, or getting wet sleeves or the people that you're with don't mind getting a little bit wet, then just bomb it, you know. As long as you are careful to make sure that you don't hit any random stones, because the same thing that we were talking about in the backwheel balance video and like doing little hops, is that even the smallest bumps, like these tree stumps, if I hit them, would probably just knock me out my wheelchair, which is why it's important to learn how to do the flick and then go through the puddle, or not going too quickly, with that kind of thing. So yeah, if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, I think I said this before, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!